Solar Panel Podcast. My name is Tim Tompkins. Joining us, as always, Mr. Dave King.
Hello.
Shout out to you not looking at the camera. And, of course, Greg Esposito.
Oh.
So this time last
Hi,
year...
I'm looking at the camera. I love you guys.
This time last year, as of December 6th, the Suns were 4-21. As of right now, I know it's been a little bit rocky over the last couple of weeks. The Suns did win 2 of their last 3 games as of the time of recording this podcast. This is Saturday, December 7th. The Suns are now 10-11. That's not bad.
Not bad is an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. Not bad is an understatement. And they won 2 of their last 3 games in a spectacular fashion. We won't talk about the 20-point leads, but we will talk about spectacular finishes.
And let's also remember, for I believe what is the 15th consecutive season, at least we're not the New York Knicks.
I tell you what, firing David Fizdale, I talk about a coach that everybody loves because he had a couple like one-line zingers.
Hey, take that for data.
I mean, they were great. They were great zingers, but the fact that people still think that he is some sort of high echelon coach at this point, when you look at his body of work, his rotations, just the guy's not good. I'm not saying that this isn't a Knicks podcast, but I do think it's interesting how somebody can have those phrases go viral and how much that can change the perception of the job that they do.
Don't worry. Much like the guys who have been fired from the Suns recently, the stink of what happened in New York won't wash off of him easily. He won't be head coaching anywhere for a while, I think.
Well, I think it is cool that we did seem to dodge a bullet, so that's good.
Yeah, but the thing is, it would have worked out exactly the way it did with Igor. They would have fired him. So it is what it is.
All right. So if you are listening on the podcast and you want to get your voice on the intro of the show, open the show notes and there is a leave a voicemail button. Go ahead and leave a voicemail if it's fun, if it's interesting. We'll get your voice on the beginning of the show. If you are watching on YouTube right now, do us a favor and subscribe on the podcast. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, just search for Sun Solar Panel. Speaking of podcasts, the No Dunks podcast, formerly The Starters, Basketball Jones, everyone knows that. Frank the Tank made the worst of the week honors for how his voice cracked when he yelled out "and won" on the court the other day. It was like "and won," hilarious. Have you guys heard that segment?
Hey, you leave my nerdy friend alone. The namesake of Kaminsky Cove. Yeah, I've always loved that. I've always loved that segment on that show. The Starters, the Basketball Jones, now No Dunks. They've always been one of the top shows and podcasts out there, and they're the OGs. They started way back in 2006, so always much respect to those guys.
Hold on, Greg. But they have sponsors, so they must be trash.
Hey, don't ask for money. They're also selling T-shirts too, so those bastards.
Bastards. Shout out to everyone there. So the Cavaliers are ready to start listening to trade offers for Kevin Love. This was reported by Woj on Friday. Just a little bit of information on this right now because I think this would be kind of a fun exercise that we'll do. I do have Trade Machine loaded up. Kevin Love, 31 years old, $28 million a year, 4 years left on his contract. The Suns would need to send Tyler Johnson. Well, okay, assuming for the sake of any argument we have, Tyler Johnson would be included in that, would need to send Tyler Johnson and just under $5 million to make that contract work in some sort of a trade, assuming that the Suns would also have to throw in some draft capital to make it worth it. But starting off, do you guys think that a starting lineup of Ricky Rubio, Devin Booker, Oubre, Love, and Ayton really would be a formidable force in the West?
Yeah, well, it certainly makes the playoffs this year. If that's something that you're pushing for, that gets it done, I think.
Well, I think the Suns' current lineup is a playoff team, and Greg, I know you don't agree. You're thinking low 30s still. But I really think the current lineup is playoffs. So, but having said that, I don't think Kevin Love makes them much better in terms of playoff seeding. Now, their likelihood to win a playoff game could go up, and they might win 2 or 3 or 4 more games through the rest of the year. But, I mean, you're talking already, in my opinion, a low 40s win team with the current team. And the assumption being that Love would take Sarich's spot and a lot of Kaminsky's minutes. So your front line would be often Deandre Ayton, Aaron Baines, and Kevin Love. That would be a really good, fun team to watch. Kevin Love is basically a supersized version of Dario Saric, so that's great. He doesn't play defense, just like in fact, I think Dario's a better defender than we give him credit for, and Kevin Love would not be as good. So there'd be a little bit of concern on that. But would the Suns be better? Yes. Would they get more respect because of the people in the lineup, names in the lineup? Yes. Could they win more games? Possibly. Would they have a higher seed? Probably not. I think both teams are playoff teams.
Couple of points on that. One is right now the Suns are 28th in offensive rebounding and they're 24th in defensive rebounding. For total rebounding, 27th in the league. There's clearly an issue there. Yes, part of that does have to do with the fact that Ayton and Baines have missed a considerable amount of time. But even that being said, Dario, even though he is a better defender, he is not exactly a great rebounder. Frank Kaminsky's not exactly a great rebounder, and Kevin Love would bring that to the table, and so there is value in getting rebounds. That's essentially an extra possession.
Yeah, well, look.
Sure, absolutely, but a guy doesn't just get rebounds. See, here's the thing. There's, and you know this better than any of the three of us, Tim, because you pick up ball a lot. But it's not just, you can't just have one guy do one thing. They have to play the entire game. You got to play defense. You got to shoot. You got to score. I get it, but there are things that Dario Saric does that helps a team win. He is somebody posted the other day all the plus minuses cumulative for the year, and Saric is like 3rd or 4th on the team.
Yeah, but look, you're not
for the year in plus minus.
You're not losing Saric. He would, to me, look at you get better at rebounding, you get a more consistent offensive player at that power forward spot starting, and then you improve your bench simply because you're shifting Saric to the bench now, so your bench gets better defensively, and you're not losing him. You're just
why do you think
shifting
you
his role.
Have to trade Saric?
Because I don't think you'd have to in this scenario. I don't think you'd trade
think
Saric.
That they would want. I mean, the only reason that the Cavs would not want Saric to replace Kevin Love, because if Saric was in his 3rd year, they would definitely want Saric back, because he is a young guy on a low deal who could, you could sell the fans and also sell the team on his upward mobility and all that. The only problem with Saric is that he becomes a free agent in the summer and he's going to want a little bit more money than what he's currently making. But he is the perfect guy to slot in to replace Kevin Love in the Cavaliers lineup, because you got to look at it from the Cavaliers' point of view too. They want to at least be respectable. Very few teams
I'm not
want
sure
to be
they
so
do.
bad. Well, but very few teams want to be embarrassing, like the Suns have wanted to be in the last few years. And so they're going to want something back. And Saric is just 25. He is still on his rookie deal. He does approximate 2/3 of what Kevin Love does. And please believe me, I would trade for Kevin Love tomorrow. And I would give them Dario Saric, and I would give them Tyler Johnson, and I would give them a heavily protected 1st-round pick, and I would give them Elliott Cobo so they have somebody who can actually pass the ball playing in their backcourt. And Cobo probably would look like a giant compared to their starting backcourt right now with Garland and Sexton. I would do all that in a heartbeat, and I'm not suggesting otherwise. I'm just saying that Dario is a mini version of Kevin Love, and that's the kind of guy I would want back if I was the Cavs.
I just imagine those end of the quarter lineups that Monty rolls out that just have zero offense to them. I mean, there's just nobody that can score on their own in those lineups, and they don't have a point guard out there that can create shots for others really at this point. How good Kevin Love would be in those situations.
Well, and imagine Kevin Love playing with Ricky Rubio again. Right. I mean, when Kevin Love was considered a top 10 player, and he's not anymore, but when he was considered a top 10 player, it was when he was playing with Ricky Rubio, and they were actually both playmakers, because Love would do it off the elbow, and Ricky obviously does it his way, that we've been watching the last 20-some games. We get a lot more playmaking. Love would have a chance to go back to his best role, and I think it would be fun to watch for sure. All I'm saying is I don't think that gets him a high seed, doesn't make him a contender or anything like that.
No, not right now for sure. I mean, the only thing that's going to make this team a contender, and let's be honest, is Deandre Ayton turning into a star in this league. That's what will turn this team into a contender in the long run, because Booker needs that guy next to him, and you're just not going to acquire him in free agency or trade. You need Deandre Ayton to become that guy. That is the only way this roster becomes a championship contender in the next 4 or 5 years, is Deandre Ayton taking that step. I don't care who you acquire. You're not gonna be able to acquire somebody that's going to put you in that echelon. But that would certainly set you up for, if DeAndre Ayton does take that jump, that you would have a roster around those guys that could contend. I think that's what you're looking at in that end. It solves, at least for the short term, the question of who is the power forward on this team, which we've known has been a gaping hole for the last few years.
So well, I want you guys to imagine Ricky Rubio with a horn set, and Kevin Love pick and popping, DeAndre Ayton rolling to the basket, and Kelly Oubre as well as Devin Booker out there on the corners.
I know, it'd be so fun to watch. Fun to watch.
Well, and then you have Baines coming off the bench, Saric or Kaminsky as the backup for whoever is still with your roster, depending on how the trade goes down. All of a sudden, everything looks a little bit better in that,
Oh. Kevin Love at the elbow, passing to Devin Booker when he's cutting. Holy shit, it would be nice. Okay, so let's talk. I think we're all about it. Although Dave does bring up some great points that so wouldn't make them a contender. I do have the trade machine fired up.
Well, there's one thing we need to talk about and address, because it is the elephant in the room when it comes to Kevin Love.
The need for Aaron Gordon on this team.
Well, it's the injuries, right? How concerned are you that Kevin Love is just going to be another in the long line of guys like Penny Hardaway and Danny Manning, guys that you acquire that are at the tail end of their prime, that wind up becoming, Tom Gugliotta, guys that wind up becoming more question marks than answers because of injuries and other factors. Are you concerned with that with Kevin Love? Because that seems to be why most people say, no way, you can't get Kevin Love. He's broken down and he's not that good anymore.
Let's be honest. I'd rather have a healthy Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky than an injured Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'm here all week.
No kidding.
Yep.
But I mean, and you could argue if you had a fully actualized Dario Saric, you wouldn't need to acquire Kevin Love, but we're not at that point with Saric. So I'm not overly concerned, because the only way this team's going to get better is by taking a chance on someone that has some question mark at power forward. I mean, Aaron Gordon has his own question marks and an injury history. Blake Griffin's another name you've heard. That's another guy that has all sorts of injury histories. You're not going to get the perfect guy there. You're going to have to take somebody with some kind of question mark. And I guess what it comes down to is Kevin Love's question mark the one you want to roll the dice on?
And how much would be worth it to send off, right?
Well, it's too bad that we can't just rent him. Right. And give him back to the Cavs next summer. That would be fun.
We'd like to figure out if we like him. Can we?
Because $91 million, as Chris and Phoenix pointed out here on Twitter, $91 million after this season is what you owe him, and he'll be 32, 33, 34 in the next few seasons. That's going to be rough.
So can we do one of those rent-to-own programs with
great.
him? High interest.
Yeah.
You gotta pay the Cavs a lot extra along the way.
Great.
But, right. Well, don't forget, Dave, I believe you pointed this out, that 40% of NBA rosters change every year. So
yep.
the point of you can never trade a guy after you get him. I just don't necessarily agree.
That's true. The Suns could retrade him. That's for sure.
Yes. So assuming that the Suns, are we all in agreement that the Suns would be sending Tyler Johnson in this deal?
Yeah, well, you'd have to. That's the only way the salaries work.
Well,
we do agree.
Could send
Devin Booker. Yeah. Okay, so yes, Tyler Johnson is going to Cleveland.
Good Lord.
I suppose you could send Ricky Rubio and a couple of other players too. All right, so who would be the one player that you would assume that the Cavaliers would definitely say we want on top of Tyler Johnson's expiring contract?
Well, are we thinking in negotiations?
Who are they going to want, or who are they going to accept?
Yeah,
accept. Would the Suns? Would they probably want Cam Johnson? Would the Suns be willing to trade with the Cam Johnson?
No, but I think Mikal Bridges is another name that intrigues a lot of people, and I wonder if that's a piece that they're willing to move. In if the right name comes about. I don't think Kevin Love's probably that guy, but I certainly think that's a name that's going to intrigue teams. Will the Suns come to the trade table? And with Cam Johnson's emergence, it may be somebody that they're a little bit more comfortable moving for the right person.
I think definitely Mikal Bridges is the guy, although he hasn't been playing as well. So it would have to take a savvy GM to want him. He doesn't have the little flashy quickie stats offensively, that's for sure. But I can definitely see a savvy GM wanting Mikal Bridges as a make or break guy to include, for sure.
Then Cleveland won't want him because they don't have a savvy GM.
No, that trade works. By the way, you'd probably have to throw in a protected first round pick. How heavy would the Suns have, or how light would they have to go on that protected pick if it was Tyler Johnson and Mikal Bridges?
I think you could protect it.
Very heavily.
It. Yeah.
What? What's very heavily? What does that mean?
Lottery. Something that almost certainly becomes second round pick or nothing at all if the Sun, it's something that almost certainly becomes second round picks in the future unless the Suns win a championship.
Look, and
then it becomes a late first. Like it's got to be like a top 20, top 25 protected late first, something like that.
Look, what I do is I come to the table. You can have Tyler Johnson, Frank Kaminsky, and I'll give you my pick next year that's top 5 protected. And
top 5?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Do you really need to add? Listen, do you really need to add another young guy to this mix? They're already the youngest team in the NBA.
No, they just trade. They can move on from other young guys they already have.
I agree with Greg on this. At some point, at some point, the Suns have got to say we're willing to trade actual draft assets for players. Like
but not Kevin Love.
Kevin Love is not a bad player. We are not talking.
We're talking about a guy who has injury history and is owed $90 million 3 years after this.
The Cavs are not just going to
give him away. That they need. And the Cavs are not just going to give him away. You're right, Greg.
Look, and for me, what this comes down to is: would you rather have Mikal Bridges long term, or roll the dice on another guy you're gonna draft? Mikal is a known quantity.
No,
we all agree has a high ceiling.
But I would not also give a first round pick.
I said Frank Kaminsky, not Mikal in it. I said Tyler Johnson, Frank Kaminsky, and a top 5 protected pick.
Well, and what would other teams be willing to give too? Because that's the thing. If the Suns want to get them and there's other teams bidding, the Suns have to outbid, right? So they have to come with an offer that works, that is better than what other teams are willing to give.
Assuming everybody's been given the same deadline and they're all making if it's the trade deadline, yes, you have to outbid your competition. Sometimes it's just a matter of who you called at the right time too. Because some of these trades happen and other GMs are like, what the hell? When KP was traded last year, nobody knew he was even on the market. So, or that they were willing to accept deals yet. I think they knew he was on the market, but.
Well, here's another name that came up this week, and it's not on the show sheet, so I apologize, guys. But Lauri Markkanen's name was mentioned this week as potentially not being with the Bulls any longer. Is that something that intrigues you more because he's younger?
I would give up almost more for for Lauri Markkanen.
Really?
See, I wouldn't. And okay, so Iverson Vlogs in the chat says, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter as well. Go get Danilo Gallinari rather than Kevin Love. And my response to that is no, because you're getting the same kind of guy with no guarantee he's going to be here beyond this year, and I don't think that's what you're looking for if you're going to make a move here. Is just getting a guy that's going to, plug a hole for the remainder of the year. You need to get an answer that's this year, next year, the year after. In this, I don't think Danilo Gallinari for 6 months and renting him is what you're looking to do.
I would do that though. See, Greg, I would do Danilo Gallinari as long as you're not giving up too many assets because he's an expiring.
Okay, if it was just Tyler Johnson,
he's an expiring?
I am pretty sure that Danilo Gallinari is an expiring.
Okay,
sure.
Well, if that's the case, then
you Gallo,
then that's the rental you'd always want. That's perfect. I would do that.
If they're just like, sure, we'll take Tyler Johnson and nothing back for Gallinari, you do it. But that's not the way it's going to work.
Give him Elliott Cobo.
That's not going to work either. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'll give you a bunch of trash. Can I have that useful piece you got over there? Sorry, I didn't. Sorry, Ellie. Sorry, Tyler.
Work.
No,
I think you've just blown the minds of 95% of NBA fans.
Okay, so going off the rails a little bit. Figured out though that the Suns, as long as they include a player that's making as much as Mikal Bridges into this. The trade works from a contractual standpoint, from a monetary standpoint. So your options here being Mikal Bridges, Frank Kaminsky, Dario Saric, and Cam Johnson, right? Of those players, which one is most likely that the Suns would have to include in order for this trade to happen? Not what we would want them to, but what they would have to include in order to make this trade happen.
I think it would probably have to be Bridges. You might be able to talk them into Saric, like Dave was talking about earlier, depending on the draft.
Better have a draft asset in there. Better have top five.
Yeah, you're going to have a draft asset if that's the case. But I think Mikal is going to be what they want as the sweetener in a deal. It'd be Tyler Johnson, Mikal, and then in that case you get a highly protected pick in there. That may be too rich for James Jones's blood. I don't know. I don't know where he stands on Mikal. I could never get quite a read. We always heard, I've heard from people that Mikal was a Sarver pick. Obviously, it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that the front office, general manager Ryan McDonough wanted, but I don't know where James Jones stood on it. I don't know if Robert wanted Mikal because James Jones wanted Mikal. I don't know what that is. I've heard different variations of why he wanted him. So I don't know if James Jones is necessarily attached to Mikal Bridges, and maybe he would be willing to move on. And somebody in the chat, and forgive me, I don't remember who it was, also brought up James Jones and Kevin Love have a great relationship from their time together with the Cavs when they won.
They were close friends. There was a lot of those guys that were close friends on the Cavs for sure. But you know what? I was thinking about that. That doesn't mean you trade for your friend. I mean, being a close friend sometimes tells you this isn't the guy that fits on this team because you know him so well.
Exactly.
So don't make assumptions that just because they like each other means that one will trade for the other.
But it means he has everything he needs to know about Kevin Love to decide if he's willing to give up a little bit more than somebody else might be, because he knows him. He's been to battle with him. He can basically tell you what he'll be able to accomplish. Plus, he's got Ricky Rubio, who spent years and years with him as well. So if there's ever a team that knows everything they need to about Kevin Love to go all in on him, it's the Suns.
Yep.
And if they don't make offers for him, that speaks volumes to me as well about Kevin Love. We'll learn a lot if the Suns completely sit out on Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I completely and utterly agree. Cool. So
the other thing is that can we talk? Just let's one more angle on this. one of the things that failed the Suns back in 2014 was taking some early success and trying to turn that into immediate contention. And James Jones did a really good job this past summer of setting the Suns up for the future as well as the present. The present was supposed to be raising the floor and a stepping stone, which they're currently doing. And then, just growing from there because the core is Ayton and Baines, Ayton and Booker. And then just seeing what happens organically and setting themselves up to have all their money in the summer of 2021. If you 30 games in, 40 games in, whatever it is, suddenly drop everything and go after a Kevin Love, you're saying, this is my core. I'm not going to have any financial flexibility. I'm going to have to make trades, which James Jones doesn't love doing. At least he said he doesn't love doing. Maybe he starts liking them now. But, it makes it a lot less flexible for you in the future if you drop everything and suddenly you're a now team.
Yeah, but this is different.
I think,
this is different than that 48-win team, though, because if you look at that, it was Goran and Bledsoe was the core there, and then you had Gerald Green and Miles Plumlee. Like, we were talking about guys playing so far over their heads, and when you look at this roster, you have two young pieces that everybody feels like, well, I won't say everybody when it comes to Ayton, but many people feel like can be cornerstones for you. A solid point guard. Like, this is a balanced roster, and you'd be making a move for a position you need, not a third point guard, the way they went, quote-unquote, all in with it. So I think I understand the hesitation, but I don't think this is the same kind of situation when you look at the pieces that are here and the way this is laid out. This would just be James Jones going, all right, well, this team has taken steps to raise that floor further than we thought, and I think we can take that next step in season rather than waiting for the off season.
Also, this is the Suns have two clear holes in their roster, and that is power forward and backup point guard. This fills that, which I do think makes it a little bit different. And also, Kevin Love, don't forget, can play the five, and you can have Šarić out there with Love. And but I think to your point, Greg, if the Suns sit this one out with all of the knowledge that they have on Kevin Love, that is the biggest telltale sign in everything we need to know about it. Dave, Brightside Night coming up.
Yes. Hold on. I'm actually just right now sending a DM to the guy who's designing our T-shirts. Okay.
Dave is live sliding into somebody's DMs right here on the show.
Yes. Yeah, I love this guy, Craig Hamill. He's awesome.
Oh, I love Craig.
Okay, so Brightside Night, we finally got the site launched that collects donations. It took a little bit longer than anyone thought this year because IT people get busy, but finally got that site launched. It is suns.com/brightside. Yes, that's suns.com/brightside. Suns.com/brightside. And all it takes is $9 to send two kids to a game. How incredible of a deal is that? We do this every year. Last year we got 3,300 kids sent to a game. That was pretty awesome. This year, the Suns, because they were late on getting the site up for donations, the Suns are just immediately matching all donations. And these are $9 seats in the upper deck that we're getting for kids. So actually, it works out to 2 tickets for only $9. And there's nothing better that you could possibly do. In fact, I calculated out that we could fill up the entire arena if everybody who reads Brightside each day, 1 day's worth of readers donated $9. We could fill up the entire arena. Now, of course, every year that isn't what happens. Most people ignore the least read articles on my site are the ones pimping for donations for these tickets. It's because people don't like to give away their money. But you know what? You buy a Starbucks for you and your buddy, or you and your girlfriend, or whatever it is. Guess what? You could have changed the lives of a couple of kids. Brightside Night is great because kids get to go to a Suns game and experience an NBA game for the very first time. And I remember my first NBA game. I remember almost every NBA game I've ever been to because they're just so fun. It's such a different experience than these kids will ever get in their young lives. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back to our community. I'm trying to give back to the Phoenix community that has supported me and supported the Suns for 40 years. We're creating a new generation of Suns fans with these giveaways. And all I need is a few of your dollars. You guys donate to all kinds of stuff. You donate you donate everything, because you donate little bits here and there, and you donate actually to retail stores to buy stuff that you're going to consume in about 5 minutes and then never see your money again. How about give it to a couple of kids? $9
for half the cost of a Starbucks cup of coffee. You can send 2 children to a Phoenix Suns game, and for the first time in years of Brightside Night, it's no longer torturing them. It's actually going to give them great enjoyment to see a good basketball team play a game that we all love. I highly recommend donating to Brightside Night. I don't shill for Dave very often or at all. But in this case, I certainly will.
Yes, we know. You're always people are always trying to get us to stop fighting on Twitter because you're such an asshole.
I love that they think it's real too. Guess what? Dave and I would not sit here for as many hours as we have doing the show if we actually hated each other. We wouldn't. I'm sorry to blow that illusion, but please donate to Brightside Night. Find it in your heart, because I actually, I remember to this day being a 9-year-old and getting to go to my first Suns game, and sitting in that upper deck and just thinking that it was the greatest thing in the world to get a chance to be in that building that I had listened to Al McCoy describe and watched on UPN, or actually back then it would have been just Channel 45. I don't even think they had an affiliation.
Oh, yeah,
then.
I remember Channel 45, Channel 9.
Yeah. I mean, so it'll mean something to these kids, and that $9 and whatever you probably spend would not mean that much to you. So I definitely
you're not even gonna miss the $9. You're not even gonna miss it. No. And you know what else? Let's talk about what you get out of this stuff. All right. If you actually donate 10 tickets, $90, that actually becomes 20 kids going to a game. And you'll get your own pair of tickets to the game that you would have spent $90 to get anyway. If you do, and you get invited to a pregame interview session with James Jones that nobody else gets to have. Well, I hope it's James Jones this year. We haven't gotten a confirmation, but it'll be somebody from the Suns front office. In 4 years, we've had the GM or assistant GM each time.
Give me Trevor Buckstein.
It's really fun. Yeah, well, why not? Sure, I would love to have Trevor, Jeff Bauer, anybody. It would be fun. It would be really fun. And that's all you got to do. All you got to do is donate a little bit of money. And if you give just a little bit of money, you get kids changing their lives. If you donate a little bit more money, you get stuff for yourself. Tickets to the game, free access to the GM. I mean, come on. What's better than that?
And look,
then for 200, hold on. Then for 25 tickets, which turns into 50 kids for $225, we'll if you can make it to the game, we'll give you the lower level tickets to the game. And we'll honor you pregame on the court with a big announcement for everybody to cheer and recognize how many kids that you guys help donate and get to Brightside Night.
Look, guys, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to take what my share of our earnings from this last month, and I'm going to donate. What is that? 11 tickets, I think. I'm going to throw in a little of my own cash there. I think I'm going to donate 11 tickets to this. Guys, just because that's how much I believe in it.
22 immediately because the Suns are matching.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's get out there. Let's help these kids have a memory that they won't soon forget. Dave, when is that date? Who are these kids going to get to see, and when is it?
Yeah, so the game is very similar to last year, actually. The Suns played the Kings on Brightside Night last year. They're doing that again this year. It is against the Kings. It's on January 7th, only one day off from last year, too. And that'll be against Marvin Bagley should be back. De'Aaron Fox should be back. Hopefully, DeAndre Ayton will be back, unless he's been suspended for something else or is injured. But everybody should be available for that game. That is Suns against the Kings on Tuesday, January 7th. So this is a really fast track thing. Now, I do have to say that I'm hugely impressed with folks. You guys are so used to this. A lot of you have already donated. I only started collecting 2.5 days ago, and we're up over 1,500 tickets donated already. But I want to get over 3,000. We did 3,000. We had 3,300 last year. I want to top that if possible. Well, like I said, we could fill up an entire arena if everybody just donates a little bit. So let's go for this. Thank you, Greg. I'm going to turn around my solar flares money as well, solar panel, money as well, and donate that to the kids. So it's going to add up. And I know Tim's going to do something like that as well. He hasn't spoken up yet, but we're going to twist his arm and twist whatever it takes to get him to donate.
You guys have
money.
been talking for like 5 straight minutes.
He's going to donate
letting you run with the segment.
He's going to donate his glasses money for December to the kids in need. Let's make this happen.
What are you going to do for this,
I donate every single year to Brightside.
I know you do.
Brightside Night.
You do. You're
and guess what? They could see the newest
son,
Kevin Love.
Yeah. So yes, suns.com/brightside night. We will talk about it on future episodes. All the way leading up to it is a wonderful way that you can send an underprivileged child to a basketball game. When I was in Orlando this last week, seeing the Suns lose by 20 to the Magic, there was a large group of boys and girls club kids that were there, and it totally reminded me of what you put on, Dave, and it was just an amazing thing to see all these kids at the game. You could tell it mattered to them. They don't get to go do this sort of thing very often. Sporting events are really expensive, and these are underprivileged kids that do not get to do stuff like this. It's important. So please donate if you can. $9 gets 2 kids to a game. All right, you guys want to do the stat of the week?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
The plus minus totals for the season. Dave was talking about this earlier. We are going to go we're going to go backwards. Tyler Johnson, so far this season, plus minus 79 points. That's worse on the team. Cam Johnson.
Yeah, let's talk about context really quick on plus minus. Plus minus individually is a very dirty stat. It all depends on where who you were playing with at the time you were playing, blah, 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 blah. But after 20 games, cumulative plus minus of of all the different lineups you've been in and what kind of impact you've had on the game, that starts to mean a little bit, I think, a little more than an individual game or a week or whatever. This is 2.5 months of plus minus. So Tim's going backwards on it, and so worst to best, and it is very telling, and I think it does pass the eye test that Tyler Johnson has had the least amount of success. We'll say that. We'll turn it to a positive. The least amount of success in a Suns uniform this year.
All right. Cam Johnson next, minus 28 in his time.
As a rookie, that's to be expected because rookies don't know how to make winning plays.
Ty Jerome, minus 18.
Same. Actually, that's interesting. Ty Jerome's is cumulative. He's only played 3 games, whereas these other guys have played 18 to 21 games. That's actually not very good for Ty Jerome at all.
Yeah. Frank Kaminsky, minus 16.
Yeah, passes the eye test.
Yeah,
Poor Frank. He looks like somebody
me.
always kicked his dog.
Well, I also, with the Frank Kaminsky, I just don't think it's fair that he is out there playing the starting center position, honestly.
Sure, he's playing out of position for sure.
Out of position, and he probably shouldn't be in a starting lineup, right?
No, definitely shouldn't be in the starting lineup, and nobody thought he ever would be. So, I mean, he's doing what he can. By the way, somebody said I look like Frank Kaminsky, and I don't see it. I think they saw a white guy with beard, and it just rolled with it.
It's funny, Dave. What did your girlfriend
doesn't even have a beard.
Dave, what did your girlfriend say about Frank Kaminsky?
Yeah, he the way he reacts to whatever play happens, he looks like he's never been good enough. Like, oh, he goes, oh.
So, Greg,
his shoulders always look slumped, and his face always looks slack.
Maybe that's what they were referring to.
A guy that looks depressed? Yes, I fall into that category.
I know your music selection. Shaq Diallo, -1.
That's actually pretty good, considering all these other guys are basically bench guys. Shaq Diallo being one of the better ones among those units, because you are who with sometimes. Like I said, this is a cumulative stat over the course of the year. It's interesting to see how guys check out. And Sheck has actually done pretty well with a -1 cumulative over the course of the year.
I've been really impressed with Sheck Diallo, but R.I.P. After that poster dunk that happened the other
Hey, at least
night.
he was willing to get in there.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
I never give anybody a hard time for getting dunked on, because to Dave's point, it's a lot of guys just move to the side. So
Except Brandon
shout out.
Knight, we always would give him crap for that. So
Poor
guy.
Brandon Knight. I wonder if he wakes up in a cold sweat sometimes, just imagining those poster dunks that he's been.
DeAndre Jordan.
That would require caring. So no, he doesn't.
Mikal Bridges, he is a net zero.
And that is actually pretty good. Again, just like Sheck Diallo, Mikal and Sheck have had a pretty good impact off the bench. I think that's a good sign.
And that's the stat that shows you Mikal Bridges does the little things, and it doesn't always show up in the regular stat line, but that shows you what he's accomplishing out there.
Javon Carter, positive 13.
Javon Carter's mom is cheering right now because that's another case of a guy coming off the bench and having a positive impact. That's good.
That's funny. Rip Ford in the YouTube chat said, "Go after Anthony Davis instead of Kevin Love." Like, obviously,
why not?
Joking.
Sure.
Yeah, LeBron too.
Love that.
Let's throw that in there too. Yeah. Giannis. Why are we messing with AD? Give me Giannis. Let's go that route. Anyways.
Yeah, we'll send him Tyler Johnson and Sharich.
Yeah, done.
Kelly Oubre, positive 14.
This is a good sign. It is interesting, though. I will point out that among the starters this year, Kelly Oubre is down at the bottom of this list.
Kelly Oubre also, though, I believe.
I mean, if you don't include Frank Kaminsky,
without having the lineups in front of me from an eye test, a memory eye test, I believe that Kelly Oubre is also the starter that is out there the most, or at least first with those all bench lineups. He seems to be the one that Monty
spends
inserts.
a lot of time with the bench lineups as their scorer. Absolutely, you're right. So that does bring him back a little bit, bring him down a little bit.
Deandre Ayton, positive 25 in just one game.
In one game.
Hey, that is encouraging. You know, it matches the number of games he's been suspended for. So why not?
Let me just make a comment. It's been so long since we've seen DeAndre Ayton. It's like it is a little difficult to remember how he plays, and yet when you watch Sheck Diallo and you see some of the touch that Sheck has around the basket, and his touch shots, his feel, it feels so much nicer to watch than a Frank or a Dario trying to make a layup. DeAndre Ayton has that kind of better feel, actually, than Sheck Diallo. And it's just going to be so nice when you actually have somebody in a more actualized version of a pick and roll roller and a guy who's got the touch around the basket who can score. How much our offense is going to be so much more efficient. It's going to be fun to watch. So whenever you are happy about Sheck Diallo, think about DeAndre Ayton, because that's the kind of, especially offensively, that's the kind of impact he's going to have.
Devin Booker, a positive 36.
No surprise.
I thought he was a guy who can't win. Also Devin Booker, he has 6 30-point games this year. Remember, they said, the more he scores, the less the Suns can win. He doesn't impact winning, blah, blah, blah. Suns are 5-1 when Devin Booker scores 30-plus points this year. Thank you very much.
Do you want – I mean, basically what encapsulates everything about Devin Booker is they win in New Orleans the other night, right? He has 44 and a great stat line. And ESPN gives their stat line of the night to freaking Lonzo Ball in that game and says, well, he didn't get the win, but he had a great line. And it's like, the guy who got the win had a better line.
But the ultimate slap, because that was the reason they wouldn't put Booker up there, is because he didn't get the wins.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Elliott Cobo, a positive 41.
This shocked me. This is the most shocking number on this entire list. Elliott Cobo, by far, is the most impactful non-starter positive on the scoreboard of anybody this year. And he has looked fairly good. I mean, I think you don't want to overexpose the guy with too many minutes, but he's looked fairly good. He's made some shots. He's making 40% of his threes this year. He's only shooting 40% from the floor somehow. I don't know how he's only shooting 40% from the floor, because it seems like he makes every single layup and he shoots threes, and that's all I've ever seen. So I think he's actually played pretty well this year, and he's also has a 38-4 assist to turnover numbers this year cumulatively. So I think that's really nice to see.
It's interesting too, because this was a guy that the only reason he's on the roster is because he had a guaranteed contract. So, and they couldn't find a trade partner for him. From everything we've heard, that seems to be the reason he's on the roster. And
the better he plays, the more chance he can be included as that trade sweetener. I love it.
I agree, and I mean, I've been impressed, because a guy like that could easily just fold and go, well, you know what, this team doesn't want me, and I'm just going to earn my check. But he's growing, and he's doing things that we didn't expect. So props to Ellie.
All right. Third best on the team is Dario Saric at second and third. Dario Saric and Aaron Baines are both tied for a positive 44.
I thought you were going to say that somehow Ricky Rubio was 3 and 2 on the list. He's been that good, but
well, Saric has done his plus 44 cumulative in almost twice as many minutes as Baines. So we still want to rank Baines as the second best. So it's in the right order there, Tim. Saric, though, you gotta give him props, man. The guy does not fill up the stat sheet, and he's perfectly okay with that. But he has a positive impact on the game, and you need guys like that in your lineups.
Yeah, not a surprise to me at all.
And
he also is the best rebounder on the team this year. On one of the league's worst rebounding teams, but at least he's trying.
And the great overpay of the summer goes to Ricky Rubio, who is a positive 76
is there
for the season.
Anything that was a dumber take from this summer than that Ricky Rubio somehow was overpaid for what he's been able to do and the impact? And those of us that were looking at it were saying this is exactly what he was going to do for this team.
You know what's even scarier about this is that ESPN billed that worst signing of the summer as a collection of anonymous votes by NBA front office personnel.
Which is insane.
It's not even bloggers. It's not even media people. It's not even those shiny diamonds, shiny things people. It's supposed to be these GMs. Well, you know what? I have to question the sources of these ESPN guys then, because those can't be very good front office people if they literally thought Ricky Rubio adding a point guard to a team desperate for a point guard was the worst signing of the summer. Look, let's recap. Ricky Rubio is about the 19th highest paid point guard in the league, and he's definitely better than that as far as value to a team. And he's always been very good. He's 8th season. He's been around. How can you possibly think he was the worst signing of the offseason? I think they have terrible sources, or they're lying. I don't know what it is. But that's the scariest part about that entire worst signing of the offseason thing. That was supposed to be NBA front office personnel.
Look, do you really think that NBA GMs are sitting there filling out surveys that ESPN's asking them to? They probably handed it to some intern in their department to do that stuff.
Right. But still, they still should have collective groupthink of knowing how to sign smart NBA players and good NBA players. That is, my mind is blown.
Well, let's be fair. I think you overrate the intelligence of some NBA general managers when you look at the mess that the Knicks are and other teams in this league. I don't think it is as simple as that, but Ricky Rubio has been spectacular, and the numbers back that up. We're not just being homers when it comes to Ricky Rubio. In the past, the other night in New Orleans in overtime that he had, I still don't know how he pulled that off. He faked the cameraman even in that. So
in that entire overtime, he just dominated that entire overtime. It was really fun to watch.
It still will remain one of my favorite worst takes of the summer was Ricky Rubio being an overpay when he is the 17th highest starting paid point guard in the NBA. Just don't come at me with him being the 17th highest paid starting point guard is not an overpay at 17.
It's an average pay.
Right.
Right. That whole thing has
Slightly
bothered
below.
me all year also. That was absolutely not an overpay. And he was making $15 million with the Jazz on his first free agent deal, after his rookie contract. So it's not like he got a huge jump either, like Corey Joseph and other guys like that who are well overpaid. Brendan Clean did a really good job on Brightside of the Sun.com yesterday, where he analyzed the other free agent rookie deals and how they're doing this year, and they're not doing well. Newsflash: those guys are not doing as well as everyone thought they would. Yet Ricky Rubio is out playing even what he was signed for. And to Tim's point, that wasn't even an overpay.
Just go
So
look
screw
at
all of you guys.
Just go look at his replacement in Utah, and then tell me that Ricky Rubio wasn't
for
worth
twice
the money. Yeah, exactly.
Mike Conley's making twice the money.
It was one of those.
Oh,
things
and guess
that
what? Donovan
somebody
Mitchell
said.
is not looking as good this year. Is it possible Ricky Rubio helped Donovan Mitchell look better?
Maybe.
Because now Devin Booker's looking better next to Ricky Rubio.
Hey, watching on the YouTube right now, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It really does help the show out. Thank you guys so much.
We're going to get you a shirt that just says that, Tim. You can just
that's
wear
fine.
it.
Or you guys could do it every once in a while. That would also work. Listen,
hitting that thumbs up button is great. Make sure you guys do that. And if you're watching, no matter when you're watching, this could be days, weeks later, still hit that thumbs up, okay? It always still matters.
Tim could use an ego boost, so please hit that thumbs up. It's
right,
the currency that keeps him afloat every week.
It's for me. It's not for the YouTube algorithm.
No, it's not.
Listen, so there has been, closing this out, 2 segments of the show. We got to go a little bit quicker through this than we were going to, but there has been some pretty big changes when it comes to the backup starting point guard rotation with the Phoenix Suns. I'm just going to list these players out really quickly. Give me like a minute and a half here to throw a whole lot of stats and numbers at you guys. Ty Jerome, this season, 3.7 points, 4 assists, 2.3 steals. Javon Carter, 4.1 points, 1.9 assists, 0.9 steals per game. Elliott Cobo, 4.2 points, 2.5 assists, 0.3 steals. Tyler Johnson, 6.9 points, 2.3 assists, 0.3 steals. Yes, we just went over the plus minus, so you guys have all that information there as well. The Suns versus the Mavs, November 29th. Tyler Johnson played 15 minutes. Elliott Cobo played 13 minutes. Javon Carter was a DNP. Ty Jerome was still not available to play. The Suns versus the Hornets, December 2nd. Ty Jerome inserted into that lineup. He played 12 minutes. Javon Carter got 9. Tyler Johnson and Elliott Cobo were both DNPs. Then against the Magic, there was a lot of garbage time, like an entire quarter of garbage time in this game. But Ty Jerome, 18 minutes. Carter, 18 minutes. Elliott Cobo, 4 minutes. Tyler Johnson, another DNP. The Suns versus the Pelicans. Ty Jerome, 9 minutes. Elliott Cobo, 2, with Tyler Johnson and Carter both getting DNPs on that game. What is up with the backup point guard rotation, and is Monty doing the right thing?
Monty's trying to figure out what his backup point guard rotation is. When you get Ty Jerome back in the mix after coming back from injury, he's got to figure out how to work him in, what the minutes are, and I think it's gonna be situational sometimes. I think Javon Carter gives you obviously a little bit more defensively. I would personally love to just see them roll with some combination of Ty Jerome and Elliott Cobo to just understand what you have with those guys. Ty Jerome is probably the closest thing you have on the roster to being able to do similar things, obviously not as well, but similar things to what Ricky Rubio does. So if he can continue to grow, blossom as he gets these minutes, he probably makes it the easiest transition when you go from Ricky Rubio to a backup point guard. And I'd ride Elliott Cobo out until he either proves that this was a fluke of a start or that this is who he is, and give him minutes. We've seen what Javon Carter is going to be. We know what Tyler Johnson is, and that he's not going to be a long-term part of the future of this team. So I'd ride it out with those guys, honestly.
I'm really disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed in Tyler Johnson's impact on the game. I know the guy's playing hard. He's trying hard. There's never been an effort, question on his effort and his voice and his demeanor and all that as part of the team, as a vocal part of the team, has been extremely good for the Suns. I'm just disappointed that he hasn't had a better impact on the games, because he is, and still in my mind, the ideal third guard on this team. He just hasn't played like it. And so he's forcing Monty to do different things. But, man, they're already relying a lot on Cam Johnson. And you could just tell Cam is doing the best he possibly can, but he's still, as a rookie, he doesn't know. I mean, he's almost played as many games already this year, Cam, as he played last year at UNC. I mean, he's going to hit a wall pretty soon. And so why I'm saying that is because if you play Ty Jerome too much, then you've got two rookies in your lineup. And part of the problem for the Suns this past week, since Ty Jerome has been inserted, is that now they're playing two rookies and two second-year men a lot in that backup rotation. And that's just too many kids. I really wish Tyler Johnson was playing better, and he may end up back in that rotation after a little bit of time to figure out where he fits. But Tyler Johnson is not a great passer, and that could be part of the problem, where the Suns offense just bogs down because they're used to Ricky running the show. And you're right, Greg, that Ty Jerome might be the best replacement for Ricky on the team as far as a passer, for sure. It is funny that none of us are including Elliott Cobo as a guy who must play, even though he's got the best plus minus of all of them, and he's been playing very well. I think we're all kind of out on Elliott Cobo, and we're hoping Ty Jerome becomes, the guy who his dad thinks he should be in the NBA. Because I think it's so funny every time I see Ty Jerome on a court, he looks like some dude you pulled out of the stands and gave a uniform, and then he just cooks everybody on the court. I think he's great, but he looks like some guy you just gave a uniform to. And it's just interesting. It's really interesting. And Greg, I think you summed it up. None of them are really good enough to be a really good backup point guard right now. So we can only hope one of them starts playing better and more consistently.
Well, and the thing, I mean, you bring up youth. The thing is, 3 out of your 4 options are going to be that. It's either, a first year or a second year guy in Jerome, Akobo, and Carter. So you're gonna have to pick your poison with that. And Tyler Johnson's going to be freezing his ass off in Cleveland soon enough, so he's not going to be an option. So we'll see. Somebody in the chat, and again, I apologize, it was earlier and I don't remember who, brought up the fact if you pick up a player or if you acquire a player like a Kevin Love, it could ease the necessity to have a playmaking point guard on that second unit, depending on how you stagger the lineups, because Kevin Love is such a good passer as well, so that could help too. But Monty Williams is doing the right thing right now, because he has to try to figure out what he has in this group, and since Ty Jerome didn't start the season, that's part of this. He's got to figure it out on the fly, and that's what he's doing.
Has he been too aggressive with the Tyler Johnson DNP clearly in exchange for Ty Jerome?
Well, I think you've got to try Ty Jerome out, and he's got to take somebody's minutes. So I could see why Monty did that. All of us just want better play. And so Monty's trying for the same thing, and he's looking and mixing and matching to see which combinations of players are good. And they do have some analytics, and they can tell that Tyler Johnson has had the worst impact on the team this year. It's not Tyler's fault necessarily. He's just he's not fitting perfectly with this team. And so maybe that'll change, and hopefully it will change. But yeah, is Monty being too aggressive? You got to try all the guys on your roster. If you never try a guy, then you're always going to second guess yourself to see if maybe that guy was going to be better. And he really, really likes Ty Jerome, clearly. Ty Jerome had a great preseason.
Hey, if this team were on a 5-2, 7-4 run right now, and he was doing this, I would probably lean towards too aggressive. But they have struggled lately, so you have to be aggressive in trying to figure out ways to rectify that, and I think that's what he's doing here. He realizes that second unit needs some kind of stabling force at point guard, and then he's trying to figure out how that'll look, and he's trying to get that figured out so when Deandre Ayton comes back and you have another seismic shift with your bench unit by adding Kaminsky and Baines back in there when he's not injured, that all of a sudden you have at least have that point guard portion of it figured out and how you're going to utilize that.
All right, and finishing off the episode with Espo's Dunc-ie Award of the Week.
Quick reminder, this is in honor of Nate Duncan being a... Never mind, I'm not going to use that phrase, but we've named it in honor of him since he's blocked us all. We can't see his horrible takes, so we find other people on Twitter who have horrible Suns takes in honor of Nate Duncan. This week it's at JBoss, I think it's Boss, it's B-O-S-S-E, and he says in a conversation about Deandre Ayton, the guy is a bust, hence why he's currently in a halfway house for drugs. Well,
okay.
At least
nearly every player is taking something that enhances their game, and Deandre Ayton is the guy that got caught, and it's shitty, and he shouldn't have been doing it, but we have to stop pretending
that nobody else is, right?
What I am was unaware of is how strict this NBA policy is that players that are suspended have to move into a halfway house. Right. I was unaware of this, but I wish somebody had informed me, because that would certainly stop a lot of this. I mean, could you imagine if LeBron got busted for it and had to leave his palatial mansion to live in a halfway house? I mean, that makes it pretty clear that you don't want to do it. So,
yeah, I think Tim's made a really good point that these guys are all taking something. They're just not, let's say, uninformed. They're not uninformed about the CBA policy that lists specific drugs that will be tested for. I mean, the CBA policy, collective bargaining agreement, is clear on exactly which things that they're going to test for. All you got to do is pick something else. So Deandre Ayton is just the one who was less informed than he should have been. We'll call it that.
So J Boss, enjoy your Dunc-ie Award. We'll not be mailing it to you. But,
halfway house for drugs. We don't even know what drugs he was taking.
We don't even know if he did.
Sure. We're pretty sure. We're pretty sure that it wasn't steroids, because steroids don't flush out with a diuretic like that. Could it have been some recreational drug that he was having too much fun with right before training camp? Possibly. Could it have been something that was just supposed to enhance his performance? Possibly. Or could it simply be that he was trying to lose some weight before training camp? We don't know. What we do know is that whatever appeal they tried to file has not been successful, because he's now down to 6 games left out of 25. So he clearly was not able to prove that he didn't know what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He just got bad information. He needs better people around him.
Look, I'm just at a point, and honestly, this isn't just because of Deandre Ayton being one of the better players on the Suns, but I'm at a point where, let's just be honest, these people are adults, right? If they want to put something in their body, let them, right? It's not, you're putting your head in the sand if you actually think that they aren't finding ways around this, and that you're just happening to catch the guys, to Dave's point, that aren't doing it smart enough, right? So why with the farce? I don't
want this segment to come across as us apologizing for Ayton, because I'm not. I think Ayton was being an idiot. I don't think he is an idiot. I think he was being an idiot when he did this. And he hurt his team. He's out 25 games out of 82. That's about a third of the season. They are definitely being hurt by his absence, and I won't be able to forgive him very soon for this. And I will never trust him to do the right thing until many, many years go by, and he's proven he's always done the right thing. He is not a trustworthy guy, and I don't respect that. I don't respect what he did. However, he is just another NBA player like a lot of these guys. He's not a lot different than a lot of these guys. I'm not excusing it. I'm just identifying it.
I agree I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not condoning it. I think he did something that was very selfish. We've discussed that. I'm just saying in general, the whole drug testing and all this thing just seems like a farce and a joke. So why put up the front? Why not just be like accept that these guys are adults and they can make their own decisions, and the league doesn't need to regulate it. You know?
They do. They stop drug testing during the playoffs. So
Yeah, well.
all right. And on that
Too
note,
late by then.
we will end the episode. Make sure that you go to suns.com/brightside. $9 sends 2 underprivileged children to a Suns game to see the Suns play the Kings January 7th. And we will be back this Wednesday at 7 o'clock Arizona time.
Later.
Bye, guys.